Daniel in Indiana. Hi, Daniel. What are you doing? Say hi to Dan.
Hey, what's up, guys? Thanks for taking my call. Appreciate it.
Thanks for calling.
Yeah, so getting the news as I got out of bed this morning that Waj said that Draymond's going to be returning to the facility. I've heard you guys talking a little bit about it. I'm kind of I'm glad you said you like that fan, Kevin, because I'm kind of like him. I've kind of kept an objective perspective the entire season, thinking, you know, games are a resource. It's an opportunity to scout your talent and to do all those things, and it's okay to maybe like not freak out every time that we lose if we're trying to figure the puzzle out, you know. But I think when Dre comes back, I don't, you know, it would be a total crime to demote TJD and Kuminga at that point. I think the guy that comes out of the lineup is probably going to be Chris Paul. I think he's relegated back to the bench, just like he was earlier in the season. And then that gives you a little bit more interior defense. That gives you a point forward, because basically the 3-point percentage, the passing, everything that Draymond brings to the table is everything that Chris Paul does anyway. You know, except he's going to be on the other side of the pick and roll for Clay and distributing. My biggest concern with him coming back, well, I have two concerns with him coming back. One is that he pushes the pace so much that our turnovers are going to go through the roof. That's the first thing. The second thing that I'm concerned about is that right now he has trade value. If he has another incident, he has zero trade value. So, you know, if you're looking at it from that perspective, I do believe that we have one of the deepest rosters across the board. I think that they could definitely, you know, do some damage there. But when he comes back, if he comes into that lineup and you've got the two forwards and a center or three forwards or however you want to look at it, with the two guards that we know are consistent shooters, et cetera, BP not being in the starting lineup with Clay in favor of BP means that you have a more one-dimensional piece, whereas BP can shoot outside and drive inside. Clay is just that spot-up Ray Allen, and that's where I think he's kind of coming in. But if you look at it, we then have a backup point guard with Chris Paul. We have a backup shooting guard, you know, with BP, you know, and then all of a sudden Clay isn't guarding all the forwards anymore. He's back to being one-on-one with guards, which is a little bit better. You don't have a 6'10" Denver Nugget, you know, swiping the ball away from him 2 or 3 times in a row.
Yeah, Daniel, let us jump in here, man. Thank you very much for the call. Obviously, you know basketball, and I think you have some points there with regard to what some of the guys can and can't do in different lineups. If Chris Paul comes out of the starting lineup, nobody gives a rip about that. That's fine. That you're right. That's the way it's been. But I still what I hear in those kinds of points is in contrast with what I hear when we talk to Steve Kerr. And that's why I'm so focused on, let's call it 8 games. I don't know how many more Draymond's out, but let's call it 8 games.
Okay.
You're going to have to sort of play poker and declare, are we going high or are we going low at that point? Because this idea, and I think a lot of fans are with him, don't you dare let Draymond get reinstated and then take those young guys out of the lineup. Okay? Then don't call and say the Warriors can win it all. You've got to pick. If you still think the Warriors are trying to win and they're trying to go to the playoffs and maybe try to do things when they get to the playoffs, and I know what Steph thinks, if that's what you think, then yes, you have to be willing to yank young guys out of the lineup and lower their minutes. Newsflash, when Draymond comes back, young guys are losing minutes.
Right.
That's automatic. So you got to be ready for that.
But does it make you better?
I don't know.
And that's
the information we need,
And that's what
though.
Steve Kerr would say, yes, it makes us better because Draymond's veteran and I'm riding with the vets. And he said that to us on our show with Steve Kerr, our weekly conversation. And that's the direction he's going to go. So you're right in terms of fans. Fans are going to be outraged when TJD, maybe he gets a DNP. TJD gets a DNP, and it's because of what Steve Kerr said to us yesterday, and he said it every week. We can only play 9 guys, maybe 10, and when Draymond comes back, you're going to have 11, maybe even 12. GP2's out, which helps a little bit in terms of the number crunch, but you're going to be having more bodies than you have spots on the court. And you know that Draymond's not going to sit. He's not going to be a DNP, and he's going to start once he's ready to go. So at the expense of who? And it might be Chris Paul, but I think more likely it's going to be Kevon Looney. I think Looney's minutes are going to be the ones that go down.
Maybe.
I think Kuminga has done enough to earn minutes, and I also think that when you look at Jonathan Kuminga, what we've seen is when you don't play him as much, he plays worse. And when he plays a lot, you get a lot more out of him, both good and bad, more good than bad. TJD's a little bit different. I think he's a little bit more of an experienced guy.
He's also a complimentary player.
Correct.
You know what I mean? You're not put the ball in his hands and create something. No, rebound, finish dunks, do your
exactly.
Thing. That's all they need from
I think Kuminga, you need quote unquote more.
Yep.
And I think Looney's more in the TJD mode of more of a complimentary player too. So I think that Looney loses minutes more than anybody else when Draymond comes back.
Yeah, you might be right. You might be right, but he's coming, and other minutes are going to lower, and there's going to be a reason for it too. I know that this is kind of one of the things that I have said often in the last couple of years, and I often get called a homer because of it. But I am someone who, when I watch sports, I believe inherently that coaches put people in the game or not in the game based on something. There's a reason.
Right.
It's not just because they're mad at someone.
Of course. Doesn't mean they're always right, though.
Of course not. And I love it when Coach Kerr will come on here and be like, bleeped that up last night. My bad. But it's a process that fans often have to go through with young players. We see something pop. It's exciting, right? Trey Lance will throw a ball to Danny Gray down the left sideline in a preseason game. Oh, he can be elite.
He's him.
He just needs time. He just needs someone who will give him an opportunity. And a coach is over here going, I'm with him every day. He gets an opportunity all 7 days of the week. And I don't always love what I see. So when we get to the game, that matters. And fans get to the game and go, why you hate young people? Why won't you give them a chance? There's a reason. So this conversation is really applicable right now to Kuminga. Like if I asked you, what do the Warriors think behind the scenes of Jonathan Kuminga? I don't even know how to answer. Before you do, you're listening to 95.7 The Game, KGMZ FM and HD1 San Francisco, always live in the free Odyssey app. Twitch and YouTube powered by First NorCal Credit Union. Smart choice for low auto loan rates and super simple online application process. What do you think they think of Jonathan Kuminga?
I think they believe that he has great potential and that he's making strides. The big question for me, and I mentioned this yesterday, is do they see him as a foundational piece? Because if they do, at the end of this year, they will likely give him the Jordan Poole treatment, which is here's a contract, here's an extension, because you wouldn't want him to play next year in his final year of his contract. So if you love him, you would give him a deal. If you're not sure about him at the end of this year, then you would either trade him or have him play out the string and then be done with him from there, or maybe you extend him if he pops. But I think that they're excited by what they've seen, but at the same time, I also believe that they see his limitation. And of course he's limited. You mentioned it earlier, or maybe it was yesterday, a guy who never played college basketball, a guy who is still developing as an NBA player.
Totally.
He's only played, if you count his G League Ignite year, this would be year 4 of real organized competitive basketball. So, of course, there are a lot of things he can't do. Are these things that he can learn and develop, such as a consistent shot, such as, a move with the basketball that is under control, a post-up game? We know the athleticism is off the charts. We know defensively, on ball, he's pretty good. Off the ball, he's got a lot to learn. Rebounding, he's getting better, but he's got a lot more to learn. And defensively, he is, maybe a liability with a lowercase L, not a capital L like Jordan Poole was.
It was a larger learning curve. He didn't
big
play
learning curve for
basketball.
Kuminga.
Yes.
But you see the bright side, and you also see the downside. But I think you look at him just this year, and you go, wow, this guy's amazing. And then 12 seconds later, you go, oh, my God, this guy is clueless.
That's what I mean. Like, so what are the Warriors? Right? Are the Warriors in love with his future? I don't know.
Only time will tell.
I don't know.
And that's either they trade him in 5 weeks,
right?
Or they sign him in April, or we find out how they feel.
That's why I'm not afraid of just wait.
Yeah.
Just breathe. There's so much information that I want the Warriors to get. Can Draymond screw the head on straight? Can Kuminga keep developing, become more consistent? Right? Can Clay still look like Clay? Can Kevon get his legs going? Is that just, Steve tells us that's a product of what's going on around him because the group that he plays with has not consistently been there. Can Andrew Wiggins look like he did 18 months ago? I don't know. I'd like to. I'd like to know the answers to those questions rather than make a bad trade.
Which one is most likely of the three? Kuminga taking the next step, Draymond, quote, screwing his head on straight, or Andrew Wiggins returning to the player that he was 20 months ago?
It feels like the betting favorite would be Kuminga. But I
think you're right. That is such a damnation of Andrew Wiggins.
Yep, but I want to answer Draymond because I feel like his career's at stake. And so even though it may be a fool's errand to plan on Draymond behaving, he has to.
Yeah, you and I talked about this before.
He doesn't get to play anymore.
But can Draymond be the productive player that he has been while, being docile? Can docile Draymond thrive in the NBA?
Information that I would like to get.
Yeah, you're going to get it.
Information that I would like to get, yeah. How about Brett let's go to, sorry, Brett, we'll come to you next. How about Zachary in Napa? Hey, Zachary, what are you doing?
Hey, I'm out here in Napa. I just wanted to talk to you guys about Jonathan Kuminga a little bit.
Let's do it.
So, we're always talking about the potential of trading Kuminga, and I think you got to look at two guys, Kuminga and Andrew Wiggins. And the way I view it, you want to trade Andrew Wiggins just because we know Andrew Wiggins' ceiling. We saw him in the 2021 finals. We know the type of player he can be, great two-way player. But I think Jonathan Kuminga has the potential to have a higher ceiling, all NBA forward. I think he adds more value to the teams, I listen to the show a lot, and Kuminga gets criticized a lot for his lack of rebounding, but I think just based off his potential, he's worth keeping.
Zachary, I'm a fan of Jonathan Kuminga. I'd like to see his development continue with the Warriors, but you said something there. You believe that this could be an all-star, an all-NBA player?
Definitely. We talk about him missing free throws. Let's say he doesn't improve on free throws. I think the worst he is an Aaron Gordon, which is still like an incredibly valuable role player.
Zachary, interesting. Thanks. I don't know what to say on that one. He's still only, what is he, 21?
Yep.
He's 21 years old. So it's very early. But he's also been around the league now for a long time.
Yeah, third year.
It's a long time. So can that pop happen in year 3, year 4? I think of people like Jermaine O'Neal. Yeah, it can happen. It could absolutely happen. He does have a very interesting skill set. I will say that not yet have I seen that moment or that game where I'm like, oh, he's going to be an all-star. That's different than Pro Bowler in the NFL. All-star. NBA all-star is like, dude, there's not a lot of those.
No.
That is an elite NBA player. I don't know if I feel that yet. I'm not saying it can't happen. I don't know if that has popped into my head in the middle of games yet with Jonathan Kuminga.
Not at all. Not at all. You would have to be, especially with this team right now, to get 2 all-stars on the Warriors. Let's just say that Steph is an all-star because he's going to be again. And I don't know how many all-stars that'll make, probably 10 or 11 in his career. But to get 2 all-stars on a team, you have to be a very good team. And this team is not a very good team. Right now, the Warriors are a one all-star outfit. Clay's not. CP's not. Draymond is not. Wiggins is maybe 7th man of the year, if there is such a thing. And Kuminga's not. For Kuminga to be an all-star, he's going to have to learn to shoot the ball. Not shoot the glass. Shout out Die Hard. Shoot the ball. Because right now, his three-point shot is pretty unsightly, to put it nicely.
It looks like it's getting worse. And I don't even mean the percentages. It was like I feel like the last couple of games, he's messing around with some different form, right?
That ain't good.
No, like the left hand is flying out. It's almost like he's shooting it one-handed.
2 for his last 16.
Well, there you go.
Over the last 5 games. Not to stat you.
Maybe it's just that they're clanking a lot.
Yeah. I just looked at his last 5. 1 of 5, 1 of 5, 0 of 3, 0 of 1 of 2, 2 of 16. It's a bit of a struggle. So for Jonathan Kuminga to become an NBA All-Star, you've got to be able to score at all 3 levels. For him, that'd be get a three-point shot that's not hideous.
Yep.
Be able to score on your own in the mid-range. And he's already got the at-the-basket game.
Yeah, he can drive.
Oh, boy. And he can elevate. He can finish. He can dunk. He can offensive rebound, all that stuff.
Brett in Oakland. Hey, Brett, what's going on? Y'all with Willard and Dibs?
Hey, guys. Nice to be on. Hope you're having a nice New Year so far.
To you as well.
So I actually wanted to talk about some of the earlier conversation about Draymond, but just quickly, I want to back up the last caller. I see very much the same thing with Kuminga. And just to that last comment, he has a mid-range shot, and it's really good. He drops those all the time. I just feel like the coaching staff told him at the rim or at the three-point line, and he kind of just stopped taking them until last game. But it was nice to see him drop a couple last game.
Yeah, go ahead, Brett.
Yeah.
No, you guys can jump in.
No, just the mid-range shot is going the way of the dodo bird. Teams don't want anybody to shoot in the mid-range unless your name is Kevin Durant.
That's analytics.
Right.
I don't know that what you're saying is true, Brett, about coaching staff telling him what to do there, but there are teams, I don't know if the Warriors are one of them, but there are teams that essentially have said to their team, let's stop anything that's right inside the arc and then extend it another 5 feet is just by analytics a bad shot.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. It's just in these late clock situations where they sort of throw the ball to Kuminga and go do something, and he's done really nicely getting to the rim. Last game, he had 2 nice possessions where he couldn't quite get to the rim, but he pulled up short and took 2 mid-ranges, and they both went down, and we've seen that from him before. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, Brad, thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I'm looking at his shot chart, and he has 15 shots that he's made inside the three-point line and outside the key. 15. His shot chart is a bunch of green blobs near the hoop, and then a bunch of X's outside the three-point line.
Yeah, he wants to get to the hoop. Why wouldn't you? When you can jump like that, he's actually become, I think that's one of the areas where he's developed. He's developed as a finisher.
Yep.
Like he's always been a dunker, but he's getting creative around the rim. I like that part. I don't know how directed he's been with regard to the mid-range shot.